following reading is from Rays of the One Light, Weekly Commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. In last week's reading, we saw that the great masters themselves counsel discretion in the dissemination of truth. The counter-argument is sometimes made, but the Lord doesn't hide. He reveals his beauty in the sunsets, his tender symphony in the rain, his wrath in the thunder, his restless energy in the brooks, his power in the sunlight. There are exoteric truths, and there are also esoteric truths. There is that which is revealed impersonally and left up to us to interpret, such as the thunder and our perception of it as divine wrath, the rain and our perception of it as God's symphony. But behind even God's most open expressions, there lies impenetrable mystery. The wind blows where it wills, said Jesus in chapter 3 of the Gospel of St. John. You hear the sound of it, but you do not know where it comes from or where it goes. So is everyone who is born of the Spirit. And Sri Krishna says in the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, by me the whole vast universe of things is spread abroad, by me the unmanifest. In me are all existences contained, not I in them. God's hidden reality cannot be understood by the reasoning faculty. India's Sankhya philosophy states, frankly, Ishwar Ashida, God is not provable. A willingness to seek the underlying reality behind appearances is essential for those who would know God. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Good morning. So I guess the question is, does God hide the truth? It's a fascinating question to me, especially with last week's reading was how democratic is truth, and this week is, does God hide the truth? And the more I concentrated on it, the more it began to realize, I don't know if God hides it, but I think we might hide from the truth. I think it's a little bit more accurate. Last week, Jamana pointed out a lot of people bring out their truths, especially you hear it with politicians and the like, their truth is this, their truth is that. But what is truth really? Jesus, when asked that by Pontius Pilate, didn't say a word. What is truth? Well, one of the brothers at Mount Washington, Brother Bhaktananda, a fellow disciple of Swami Kriyananda, somebody asked him what truth was, and he said, truth is exact correspondence with reality. And I thought, yeah, that's pretty good. But you have to realize it's one reality. It's God's reality, not everybody else's reality. And it's so easy for us, for religion today. It isn't really about truth. To some extent it is, but for the most part it's about your belief system. And if you get the belief system right, somehow that'll work. But reason's a tricky one, because reason will follow feeling. It will do anything that you put up in your mind, reason will be 100% behind it. If you're sitting in here and you see a glass vase up here and you think, boy, I really want that, reason will give you 100 ways to do it. I mean, it really works well for you. And there's no experience in reason. There's no experience in desire. And what we really want is realization. We want that consciousness, which God is. And it's It would be interesting, if we were all like Dr. Spock, from Star Trek, where everything was logical and reasonable. But even Spock was part human. So every once in a while, his intuition would come through, and he'd be able to guide himself through all of his little setups that he made, all his logical conclusions. God lives in the heart. Your soul lives in the heart, not in the head. And it's a huge thing for us to get. I have a cousin who he had an IQ, I think, of 145. And because of that, after he found out about it, he became a genius. And everything he did was, I'm a genius. You'd bring an argument with him. At a family reunion years ago, I brought up some spiritual points that I'd been working on for years. And I kind of presented it to him, and he kind of looks at me and he goes, oh, that's oversimplification. Just kind of, but that's what we do, We get these little things in our brain about who we are and what we are and what's important in our lives, and we follow them and we repeat them all the time. I mean, if all of you took that phrase, I'm a genius, over and over and over and over again, and then went downstairs and commingled with everybody, it would be crazy. But such is the human experience, The very few of us really tune into what truth is, really understand what it is. I heard another talk by an SRF monk, and he said, what would happen, what would you do if you came in here this morning and I wasn't up here, but Yogananda was up here, or Jesus was up here? What would you do? How would you approach your Sunday service? How would you pray? For the most part, all of us would just want to be here. I mean, you would just want to be in the room. And he said, that's how you need to approach your meditation, because God is there. The only thing that's hiding him is all the commotion and all the stuff that you have in your head that stays in the way, and all your little, whatever, self-definitions that keep him hidden from you. And it's literally that simple. You just have to feel as though he's right there and tune into the vibration, Master said, when you meditate. There you go. There you go. Yeah, we all would, Exactly. But, that's how we need to approach our meditations, It has to be something that's real to us. It's consciousness. It's not a belief. It's not a thought. The thought of reincarnation isn't going to get you God. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. It doesn't, what difference does it make? We all have to tune into that vibration that's real for us. I read this, God Alone, and a book by Gyanamata, Yogananda's foremost disciple. And there's a reading in here that I was just really struck with, so I wanted to read it to you, if my glasses will allow me to do that. It starts out with a quote. It was written in 1940. It starts out with a quote. The soul of man is immortal, and its future is the future of a thing whose growth and splendor have no limit. The principle which gives life dwells in us, and without us is undying and eternally beneficent. It is not heard or seen nor smelt, but it is perceived by the man who desires perception. Each man is his own absolute lawgiver, the dispenser of glory or gloom to himself, the decreer of his life, his reward, his punishment. And then she goes on and says, this is the exact statement of the truth. We come to the Guru asking for him to give us liberation and the joy of realization, so he can and will, but only if we cooperate with him. If the soul resolutely clings to things that drag it down to earth, no miracle happens to release it. It may continue in this way for as long as it chooses. At last the guru, however patient and long-suffering, has to say, take your own course. Look into your heart, look back over your life, and tell me if you have ever persisted in any action that you absolutely felt no desire to do. No. When we really do not want to do a thing, we simply don't do it. When any action is persisted in, it is not merely a matter of habit, though habit counts. If we look closely, you will have no trouble in discovering the red thread of desire. You wanted to do it, no matter what the consequences. Whatever I think at this point, there comes to mind an experience I had in La Jolla. On a certain day, in a moment of intense feeling, I saw myself confronted with two courses. I felt within me the power to take either. I said to myself that I was free to choose, and I chose the lower, to my undying regret. It represented what I most wanted to do in spite of the clear vision and understanding. Whatever you do or don't do, dear soul, resolutely and honestly face yourself. And then she goes on, which is a good point to remember. One of the reasons that people do wrong and foolish things is because in the moment of great emotional stress, they forget everything and everybody except themselves and their own wrongs, real or fancied. A little unselfish thought taken for those that really love you would save them. I know you meditate, but do you keep up the practice of spiritual reading? I consider it very important. Our consciousness does not rise onto the spiritual ether unaided. And next to meditation, what help is so effectual as reading with concentration the lives and writings of the saints who have left records of their suffering and successes on the pathway that leads to God. I just thought that was such a great reading because it just cuts right to the chase. You know, we are responsible for us, and we keep thinking that somehow, somewhere, there's a desire out there that we have that will give us the happiness. And we look for it and look for it. And even once we get it, there might be some sense of fulfillment, but there's always another desire, you know. That's just how we work. And fulfillment isn't in desire. Fulfillment isn't on a mental level. Fulfillment is more on a feeling level. It's the balance between the two. And it's something that we need to tune into and realize within ourselves. Because once we get that consciousness, once we get that truth, God is with us all the time. It's literally practicing the presence of God, practicing the presence of that, I don't know, my reason fails me at the moment, but of that truth that is within you. Yogananda said, God is very, very shy. And he said, he will not come to you until he is absolutely convinced that you want him above any other truth. And he'll keep throwing stuff in your way. Oh, you don't really want me. Here, take this. Here, take this. Here, take this. So in a lot of ways, the spiritual path can be fulfilling on all levels because God keeps throwing things at you that he thinks you might want. But once you realize that nothing outside yourself can make you happy, nothing, you begin to tune in and realize that consciousness is right there, and it's right there all the time. But we have so much commotion in our lives. And it's, you know, other than meditation, I don't know if there is another way. She gave 1 point of spiritual reading, but also group meditations too. Take advantage of it, you know, once a week or whenever. Tune into those group meditations because that consciousness will change your life. I look back over my life and the things that I did that got me onto the spiritual path, and it's satsang. It's satsang with fellow devotees that you know, yes, I made the move and I tried to tune into God, but when I moved to Ananda and saw the people there and the way they were living their lives, it became real to me that you need other people. You know, you have to have that satsang with other people to rise yourself and to really find the truth inside. Yogananda said, in life, we are here to entertain and be entertained. And I thought, yeah, that sounds like fun. You know, we're here to feel joy, we're here to find joy, and we're here to share that joy with everyone. That is the truth. You know, it's not all that complicated. You know, you don't need a long, reasoned thing to find God. And most people who give you that, you know, like the genius, it's just head splitting. And hopefully you have the balance within you from your reason and your heart so that you don't do anything really stupid when somebody says something like that to you. But anyway, find God inside in the heart. He doesn't live in the brain. He lives in the heart, in the feeling. And once you tune into that, you know, like Bhaktananda, the same one who gave the quote, he said the spiritual life is tough, really tough. But then, after 20 years, it's even tougher. But I don't think it is. It's just getting all that stuff out of the way, and that's the practice of our techniques, the practice of Kriya, so you can actually sit and be still, and that joy will begin to percolate up there. That's what those techniques are for. We just have to give it time. We just have to dump all the commotion. I'd like to end with a prayer demand for removing the cork of ignorance. No more shall my consciousness remain bottled in the little vessel of flesh, corked with ignorance. No more will I remain moving through the sea of cosmic consciousness, night and day, years, decades, how many incarnations, so close, yet never able to contact thy sea. Through the bursting vibrations of cosmic sound and the surging of thy holy name, I have removed the cork of ignorance, which so long separated me from thee. Though we live together so closely, now my body consciousness will meet thy all-surrounding, all-pervading consciousness. No longer will I walk heedlessly in thee, but never knowing and feeling thee. Thine image within me shall meet thine image everywhere. By releasing the I-ness in me, I will know that I am thou, and thou art the little egos of us all.